COVID. That is why we also aptly coined it Ziyasha. This is it, and I think it's truly it. So before I over-editorialize, I'm going to just welcome CMA board. I don't think ASA or KZNA are in the house. We've got the CMA board with us. We've got management. We've got the race organizing committee. We've got some staff members. We've got some top-notch CMA sponsors in the house. All of our partners, the commercial agents that have been doing some work too. Guys, we've got our host cities, and we've got the Comrades coach, running clubs, athletes, also runner reporters, ladies and gentlemen, and especially our media. A very, very warm welcome to the official Comrades Marathon media briefing, where you're going to be briefed by the race director, Rowan James, certainly given the official welcome by the chairperson. You're also going to get the race doctor, Dr. Jeremy Bolter, at our media briefing after a couple of years, and he's got lots of info to share with you guys. And yeah, Siyako Mugela, welcome, welcome, welcome to you all. I'm going to call our chairperson, Mtondi Singogo, to address you.
Apologies, we're trying to close the doors. Thank you so much, Dee. Our former chairperson and winner, Ms. Cheryl Witt. Board members present, I recognize Ms. Zinhle Sokela and our former board member, Mr. Morgan Pillay. Our Comrades coach, I saw Lindsay Perry. CMA race and ops manager, Mr. Rowan James. Our race doctor, Dr. Jeremy Bolter. Our marketing and communications officer, Ms. Dylan Coase. Our former winners, was hoping to see Ms. Helen Luke. If she's here, she's recognized. And I saw Mr. Nick Bester earlier, if he's in our midst, we also greetings to him. CMA staff members, our ROC, and our elders present, sponsors and partners. I recognize our sponsor, Mr. Price Sport, and any other sponsors who are here in our midst. Mr. Richard Van Scaife and Mr. Teba Riba from Flash Pty Limited, our commercial agents, our 5 official charities, Chalk, Hillcrest Aid, Rise Against Hunger, Wild Trust, Ubuntu Community Church of Durban and Pietermaritzburg, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is a singular honor and privilege to address you on this occasion when we communicate formally the activities and programs of Comrades Marathon 2023. Earlier today, we officially opened our expo amid fanfare and excitement from our runners who had waited patiently since this morning to collect their race pack and visit our various exhibitors and stands. This is a unique edition of the Ultimate Human Race, ladies and gentlemen, from the planning point of view. Unlike previous editions, this year's race takes place exactly 191 days since the 2022 edition. This has effectively given us 9 months to prepare for this race. We are pleased to announce that this year's race will bring the same excitement characteristic of the Ultimate Human Race. This year's race will celebrate some important milestones and achievements in the 102 years of its existence. On the 24th of May 2023, we celebrated 100 years of women participation in our event. Although women were officially allowed to participate in Comrades in 1975, Elizabeth Hayward was the first woman to take the brave step of defying the odds and participating after her request was turned down by then organizers in 1923. It is therefore a fitting tribute to Elizabeth Hayward and other women of this world that the Channel of Champions has introduced a dedicated channel to focus on the ladies' race on Sunday. This is a first in the history of this race and certainly an exciting innovation for us as race organizers. This channel, the Channel of Champions, will have a dedicated female commentary team spearheaded by our former winners, Helen Luke and Miss Cheryl Wynne. Another important part of our history is that this year's race takes place on the birthday of our first black winner, Mr. Sam Shabalala. Although women and black South Africans were only allowed to participate officially in 1975, with Robert Mjali having participated unofficially before then, it took exactly 14 years for the first black South African to win this race. Robert Mjali has since been honored with a sub-10 medal, finish medal by the CMA board. We therefore wish to dedicate this race to all our heroes and heroines, past and present, who have taken part of being part of writing the history books of this ultimate human race. When we launched this race in November 2022, we chose "This is it, Ziyasha," as a fitting slogan. During my address at the launch of the race in November, I referred to this slogan as an idiom I quote used to say that a very important thing is about to be done, a very important event is about to happen, etc. Close quote. This is it. Yes, indeed. A very important event will be taking place on Sunday. Sunday presents an opportunity for all our more than 17,000 qualified entrants to reflect on their own "this is it" moment. For us as CMA, we're saying to our primary stakeholders, our runners, we heard your feedback and heeded your calls where we could. And this is it. We've packaged an event that will reverberate with all participants. For a participant that missed the 2022 edition, this is it. They are coming back. For participants that missed the final 12-hour cutoff gun by a second, this is it. They are back and there's no turning back. For participants that missed their desired or planned medals by seconds, this indeed is it. They are back to give it their best. For participants who were injured last year and as a result missed this race, this is it, Ziyasha. Today we are here to share the state of readiness with members of the media. The race director will take you through some of the activities, programs, and important innovations that will culminate in the hosting of the event on Sunday, June 2023, starting from the City Hall at the Pietermaritzburg City Hall. As part of our continued support to bring more corporate sponsors to sponsor our event, we are very excited to welcome our sponsors that were not part of the 2022 race. The Government Employees Medical Scheme, otherwise better known as GEMS, has come on board as our official medical aid partner to the ultimate human race. The Road Accident Fund doubles as the Athletics South Africa license sponsor, and obviously us as CMA. Deep Hit is one of the leading market partners in the joint and muscular pain relief space. Food Lovers joins a family of VIK sponsors and will sponsor CMA with potatoes and bananas for our runners along the route. Last but not least, Brand SA will power our winners' breakfast on Monday, the 12th of June. We wish to welcome all our sponsors on board. Ladies and gentlemen, our water is sourced from Normandin in the Newcastle area with a laboratory on site that checks the water quality. It is supplied by Thirsty Water, one of the leading water suppliers in the market. Thirsty Water harvests, packages, tests and delivers our water to the 42 odd refreshment stations along the route. Our refreshment station portfolio holder and the race director have convened briefings with our table captains as part of ensuring high levels of hygiene, including keeping our water stations clean at all times. We wish to assure all our participants that they will enjoy the highest quality of water from our refreshment stations to hydrate. In our midst, ladies and gentlemen, we have our race doctor, Dr. Jeremy Bota, who has been our race doctor for the past 43 years. In partnership with Netcare 911, we have issued a comprehensive statement that details our medical and psychotherapeutic plan with personnel, facilities, physiotherapy stations and other resources, including vehicles, motorbikes, and an emergency helicopter. The doctor will outline and answer questions that members of the media may wish to ask. This is part of showing our commitment to putting the safety, health, and well-being of our more than 17,000 participants first. We are grateful and highly indebted to our sponsors who continue to walk this journey with us: Mr. Price Sport, Toyota, South Africa Motors, Pty Limited, First National Bank, Hollywood Bets, GEMS, RAF, Thirsty Water, Deep Heat, Brand SA, Bavaria, Southern Sun, our hosts for this afternoon's briefing, Orange Grove, Coca-Cola Bottlers South Africa, Netcare 911, Interflora, Beathouse, Foam Scarf, Hershey's, and Food Lovers. Without their generous sponsorship, it would be highly difficult to put together a world-class event. As I draw towards conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the CMA board, I wish to thank all our runners, volunteers, ROC members, elders, staff under the leadership of Mr. James, sponsors, partners, the two cities of Pietermaritzburg and eThekwini like Kakasini, spectators, supporters, traffic and law enforcement authorities, medical professionals and emergency medical care practitioners, refreshment table hosts, suppliers, the Hollywood Beds, Kingsmead, Cricket Stadium, the Durban Exhibition Center, our 5 official charities, and the members of the media who continue to communicate our message. I wish to extend a warm and proudly South African and KwaZulu-Natal welcome to all our international participants from 84 countries across the globe and the African continent. I hope that you will enjoy the hospitality of our country and our province even beyond Sunday. Please take your time to explore our tourism attraction and destinations. I wish to thank our international ambassadors who continue to market our event in their respective countries. Comrades Marathon has become an important item in the bucket list of events to do across the globe, thanks to our ambassadors who are spreading the word. This year, for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome 403 participants from India who have the highest number of entrants across the globe, followed by our neighbors Zimbabwe and the United Kingdom. As we play the last post on Sunday, as I conclude, let us remember those volunteers and runners who are no longer with us. I wish all our participants Godspeed as they take on the 87.701 kilometer journey from the city of choice to South Africa's playground. Ziyasha.
Thank you, Chair, for that very on-point welcome address. Guys, I know we've got at least a former winner in the house, a former gold medalist, females that is, and I think based on Elizabeth Francis Hayward's unofficial performance in 1923, let's give it up for all the women in the house. And the more than 23% of females that are also going to be taking on the Ultramarathon Challenge this Sunday. Rowan, our race director, is going to fill you in on all the ins and outs of what to expect come race day.
Thanks, Delane. Good afternoon, everybody. I think this almost has become the norm these days, is that Chair, just next time, please send me your speech beforehand, because I can cut mine down to 2 minutes, which is great. The less talking I've got to do, the better. Fabulous to have you all here again as we get ready to count down to another memorable Comrades Marathon, the 96th edition of the Comrades Marathon, taking place on Sunday, which will be the 48th down run. Planning and preparation has gone extremely well. This time around, we effectively only had 9 months to do it, from the end of August last year when we hosted the last Comrades Marathon, but with a dynamic team and co-workers, a board that gives us good strategic direction in terms of what we need to do, and an amazing volunteer corps makes the job that much easier. Just some of the changes that we introduced for the 2023 race. I think it's also important to realize is that when the runners talk, we do listen. Our most important shareholder is the runner. Without the runner, we don't have a race. And some of the innovations and changes that we brought about for this year's races is a direct result of some of the feedback that they gave us. I think first and foremost is the move back to what I affectionately refer to as the home of Comrades, which is Hollywood Bet's Kingsmead Stadium. It's been overwhelmingly positively received at moving the finish back there. And there's a number of reasons. I don't need to go into all of them, but I think most probably trumping the list at the top there is that there's no longer 59 steps to climb after the end of the race. So I think that's been very well received as well. And I think also Hollywood Bet Kingsmead just provides a much better atmosphere in terms of the gears of what Comrades has been known to be and what it's about. So certainly it's going to be a great vibe there on Sunday, the whole day. And then secondly, the prize money. Comrades gave the commitment to the media, to the runners, that once we would weather the storms of COVID, that we would certainly relook at the prize money, and the Comrades have certainly done that, and then they've gone and done some big changes there, which I'll just chat on a little bit later as we go along. Just to give you just a little bit of a couple of the statistics regarding the race, there were 20,550 entrants received during the 3-week window period that we had when entries opened on the 22nd of November last year and closed on the 12th of December. Of those 20,550 entries, 17,920 have qualified to run the race. Of that number, 1,980 are international athletes representing 84 different countries. I think pretty much indicative, showing that international travel has reopened again since the advent of COVID-19. From a novice point of view, a very healthy number there. 1/4 of the field, 25% of the field at 4,413 runners will be novices taking on the ultimate human race for the first time. What we call the back-to-back medal is that those novices who ran either in 2019 or last year, returning this year 2,823. And then Delane mentioned the breakdown of the male and female ratio of the race, 77% to 23%, pretty much in line with what it is in most years. A slight increase in the ladies' number, which is good to see, and Comrades certainly has a plan in terms of how we would like to grow female participation in the race in the years to come. Earlier this morning, the registration and the expo opened at the Durban Exhibition Centre, so certainly great to be back at the Durban Exhibition Centre again after having to host the race after the expo last year in the Durban International Convention Centre. Just far more space, over 10,000 square metres, and then from that a fantastic increase in the number of different companies exhibiting, 74 different companies exhibiting at the expo this year, with 132 stands taken up, so almost like old times again. And then just in terms of the numbers that will be registering, 14,753 will be registering in Durban, and 3,167 will be registering at Comrades House in Pietermaritzburg. Goes without saying that the Comrades is a massive revenue generator for the KZN province. Independent research that we have commissioned over the years has indicated in the region of 544 million rand is brought into the province of KwaZulu-Natal, with a lion's share of that going to Durban, eThekwini, and then Umzinduzi, Pietermaritzburg as well. So by far the biggest revenue generator in terms of events for the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Just in terms of doping, this year SABC, the South African Institute of Drug-Free Sport, who we work very closely with, will be testing the top 10 men and female athletes. And I know that this year we've also facilitated information to them where they could try and increase their testing of out of competition as well. So Fantastic initiative there from their point as well to try and really just keep the sport clean and fair. Official race distance has been mentioned before. At 87,701 is the official race distance, which actually makes it the shortest Comrades down run in the history of the Comrades Marathon. The up run shortest distance there being 86,7, and that was mainly due to two factors: is that the ongoing roadworks that have taken place in the first 30 kilometres between Pietermaritzburg and Cato Ridge, and then secondly the venue change, not finishing at Moses Mabhida Stadium but now at Hollywood Bet Kingsmead, has effectively taken 2.2 kilometres off the route, and I'm sure that's been extremely well received by the athletes as well. A stellar field lined up for this year's race, and in fact the entire top 10 of last year in the men's field is back to contest the race again this year, which includes defending champion Tet Tajani, Edward Matibi, the 2019 champion who finished second to Tet last year, Bonga Musa Matemba, fourth last year, three wins, and I can go through all the other top 10 there as well. All got impressive CVs in their own right. Not to be outdone, in the ladies' race, 8 of the top 10 ladies of last year's race are also returning. Amongst others includes Anne Ashworth, the winner in 2018, Claire Steyn, who won the race, the 2019 up race, to become the first lady to run a sub 6-hour Comrades on the up run. She'll be back, and then last year's defending champion Alexandra Morozova will also be lining up. There will be 6 cut-off points along the route in operation. However, what we have done this year is that we've taken out the first cut-off, which normally takes place at Lion Park, roughly 15 kilometres into the race. And the reason that we've done that is due to the ongoing roadworks, and there are places where the route is a lot narrower. So just to ensure that all the athletes have a safe, comfortable passage through that, and to ensure that they all have a fair chance of getting through that, bearing in mind that the pace will be a little bit slower in that 15 kilometres due to the ongoing roadworks. I must at this point also just reiterate that we as the organisers have been working extremely closely with the 3 different engineering companies involved with doing the roadworks. The first package from the top of Polly Shorts up to Lion Park, done by a company called Base Major. The second package from Lion Park through to Dardanelles, Umlas Road Chicken Farms, done by Rumdale Cape, and then the third package from the chicken farms right through to Cato Ridge, done by Robex. We've met with them extensively over the last month and a half, and they've been phenomenal in ensuring that the route is safe, secure, runnable. They've gone so far as even brushing the entire road surface, ensuring that there's no debris or anything like that on the road, fencing off any particular danger areas or danger spots or excavations or that sort of thing that they've had. And all 3 of those engineering companies fall under the auspices of Sanrail, who've been phenomenal in assisting us to ensure that the route is safe and runnable during all these roadworks, which is these 3 packages is commissioned to go on for at least the next 4 years. Just in terms of the marshalling, over 1,000 marshals will do duty on the day to ensure the safe, secure passage of the runners, and that also includes 200 community marshals that we use in the Nchanga area. Refreshment points, there will be 43 well-stocked refreshment points en route, offering anything and everything that the runners might need. Coca-Cola, thirsty water, Isofit, Bavaria beer, potatoes, oranges, you name it. It's going to be a party out on the road. For those runners who feel that they need to retire from the race or it hasn't gone according to plan, we'll have 30 taxis en route that we use from the local taxi association as well to transport runners to holding areas, where we'll then move them into 35-seater or 28 60-seater buses and transport them back to the finish. And I think all in all, it's a massive operation on the day. Over 6,000 volunteers involved in some way or other to make sure that this race does happen. Without the volunteers, we certainly wouldn't be able to do it. Just getting to some of the stats and facts around the medical portfolio, I'm going to gloss over that because Dr. Jeremy Bolter, the race doctor, will touch on some of those interesting facts for you as well. Just moving on to the prize money, as I mentioned earlier, the total prize money purse this year is 4.3 million rand, makes it the richest race in South Africa and certainly one of the richest on the African continent, and that constitutes a 90% increase over last year's prize money pool. The winner this year taking home 500,000 rand for first prize. If that winner breaks the best downrun time recorded on the route, he or she will take home a further 500,000 rand. And as long as the winner is a South African, they will also get an additional 200,000 rand. So South African winner with the best time down the route, minimum 1.2 million rand prize money from the Comrades Marathon. Just in terms of I've touched on the route itself and everything there. Not to be forgotten is that we have amazing support from the 3 independent traffic authorities that we make use of: the Umzinduzi Traffic Authority, Department of Transport, Road Traffic Inspectorate, and then also Metro Traffic from eThekwini, where the lion's share of the race takes place. There's over 750 traffic officials that will do duty on the day. And just working with them, it's impossible to put on a race of this stature or magnitude without the support from them. And we certainly are grateful for their support that they do lend towards the race. The chairman did mention some of the new sponsors that we have managed to sign up in the interim as well. I'm going to touch on that, but also just to acknowledge Dr. Glomo from GEMS, who's the Chief Marketing Officer. He's also in the room as well, so welcome, Doctor. Good to have you along as well. And then as I mentioned, just around the support, it seems to come in at the 11th hour from the various municipalities, but it goes without saying that many members of the media actually end up getting letters from the public at large asking if we can't have Comrades twice a year, because it's the only time the potholes get repaired, the grass gets cut, or the street lights fixed. But they've been good at that, and the chairman, in fact, was out on a route recce last night with the deputy mayor of Umzinduzi after 6 p.m. last night. So I think it just shows a commitment from our host city as well to ensure that the route is safe and runnable come race day, from getting all the potholes repaired to the street lights working, etc. TV coverage, been mentioned, 13 hours live TV coverage on SuperSport this year, and also fantastic that we were able to have 2 dedicated channels, one following the men's race exclusively and then the other one following the ladies' race exclusively, where it's been mentioned that previous chair lady and winner of the Comrades Marathon, Cheryl Wynn, will also be doing commentary on that. And then just a couple of things to wrap it up with, the unpleasant side of things, and I'm quite happy to talk about, and I think we need to talk about that, and that's been in the news quite a bit lately. Is we disqualified 25 athletes that supplied us with false or misleading information regarding their qualification towards the race. There's going to be more to follow, so as we continue our investigation, so watch the space. This will certainly be an ongoing project that the Comrades Marathon has been undertaken, and we're not going to solve it in 1 year, and it'll go over a few years, but really just to put out a passionate plea to runners out there is that CMA will not tolerate this and any other form of cheating. It's disrespectful to the sport, it's disrespectful to the fellow athletes, and it's also disrespectful to the CMA brand. We encourage anybody who has information or wants to share information with us regarding cheats to please bring forward. You can send it through anonymously at info@comrades.com, and we will always take the investigation further from there, together with the investigation we do of checking the athletes' qualification information that they've supplied us. I think the important thing there is together we can and we will. It's a small minority in the entire field that do it, but spoil it for all the rest of us as well, and we won't tolerate that. So a warning out there, it's not worth doing it. We will catch you. Rather do it the legitimate way. Just to wrap it up then, just in terms of the weather forecast for race day, it's going to be a pleasant 10 degrees at the start in Pietermaritzburg, which is very pleasant because Maritzburg in June can be quite cold, and it's going to go up to a maximum temperature of 23 degrees, clear sunny conditions, so it makes it perfect running conditions with no chance of rain. That pretty much wraps it up for me. I look forward to welcoming all the athletes down to Hollywood Bet Kingsmead Stadium during the course of Sunday afternoon. And before I do that, just to really thank my team in the office. We're a small team, we're a dedicated team, for the amazing work and the hard work and effort that they've put in, and the long hours that they've toiled to make this event get off the ground, and we're committed to doing that. So Ziasha, this is it. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. Some tough talk, but also followed by some major decisions and some action there. We put out a great race, but there's also quite a bit of unsavories that needs to be actioned behind the scenes. So yeah, kudos to Rowan and the team there. Guys, special shout out to SuperSport. Only the second live 13-hour television broadcast from the team, but you can look forward to an absolutely epic broadcast. So thanks to Jacques and the team. And I've got to also say, Gems, thanks for coming on board, because after 5 years, I think it is, we finally have the Spirit of Comrades Awards, and this year it will be the Gems Spirit of Comrades Awards. That is on the Comrades calendar for this October. 3 pure gold medals going out to those 3 deserving recipients at the Spirit of Comrades Awards, but also the Top Journalist of the Year award. So I think an added incentive for all of our journalists out there, for like the 8th or 9th year in the history of Comrades, we actually do put out a very special award to our top journalists. I know we've got at least 2 of them in the audience here today, so well done to you guys, and let's see who gets that crowning glory in October this year. And then it's like, I think we've also heard enough about, medical, and over the years, it's like, taking some real stringent measures to ensure the health and well-being of our runners. And hence, a very special invite to the race doctor. As the chairperson alluded, this year he will be serving 43 years in the Comrades medical portfolio. And the Comrades medical facilities have been lauded as the largest temporary medical facility outside of a conflict zone. And we know the doctor's got his work cut out for him, and he's going to tell you all about it. Dr. Jeremy Bolter.
Thank you, Delane, Mr. Chairman, Rowan, the race director, and everyone here. The race slogan is Ziasha. This is it. Well, at about 7 o'clock on June the 11th, we'll say Njabula, Sepelila. I'm happy it's finished. The Comrades medical tent started off as a little tent which would have probably fitted into this space here in I first worked in it in 1979. It's now a tent which is 50 by 25 meters in size. We will have, I think, 136 beds in it. The staff will about 65 doctors, which will comprise 10 emergency medicine specialists, 25 emergency medicine registrars in training to be specialists from Wits University Medical School and KZN Medical School. We'll have in the region of, on top of that, some private doctors, GPs, who offer to work in the tent. Some have worked for a number of years. There'll be about 20 interns will be working as well from the Maritzburg group of hospitals. We'll have professional nurses in the tent. We have an admin staff. I've got Treveline Palfreman, who's been working with me for the last 32 years, I think it is. We have a large number of what we call runners, not those that are collapsed, our assistants who do a lot of the admin work and directing runners to their beds, etc. in the tent. We have a fully equipped 3-bed ICU area, same equipment as you'll find in a hospital ICU. This is for the serious patients that are brought into the medical tent. That is provided and staffed by Netcare professional ICU nurses and our emergency specialist doctors. Netcare 911 provide our emergency services on the route. We'll have 16 ambulances. I think it's 6 rapid response vehicle cars with advanced life support paramedics in them, 6 motorbikes with advanced life support paramedics, We have a medical control centre at the finish, adjacent to the medical tent. They coordinate all calls for emergency services on the route. Runners who collapse and require transport from the route by ambulance will be taken to St. Augustine's Hospital. Runners from the medical tent who don't respond to our initial emergency treatment will be transported to Umhlanga Hospital. And if those hospitals are overrun with numbers, then we make use of Kingsway, Netcare Kingsway Hospital as well. With 17,000 odd entries, we will expect between 400 and 500 patients in the medical tent, based on past figures. With the weather as it is, I would think it's going to be in the low 400s, closer to 400 than 500 certainly. Most of our runners are tired, exhausted, and in various stages of dehydration. Roughly 50% of the runners that we see are dehydrated, either clinically and or biochemically. We have a small laboratory in the tent, so we can get basic blood tests done. And as I always tell my interns, in the state hospitals at the moment around Pietermaritzburg, if you take blood for electrolytes, they'll tell you you'll get the result in 3 days. In our tent, they get the result in 5 minutes. So we are able to adequately assess the runners and provide the requisite treatment for them. As I said, most of the runners are exhausted and dehydrated to a greater or lesser degree. We do get the occasional odd runner, possibly 1% of our patients, who are suffering from the so-called overhydration. Those we pick up with our blood tests, and they are invariably taken to hospital for further management. We also get a large number of patients runners who come in, as I said, in their state of dehydration and exhaustion, who've taken medication along the route. And I know that every runner runs with a little pouch on his belt or somewhere which contains some form of anti-inflammatory and painkiller and some form of anti-cramp medication. My son-in-law even does it, and no matter how much I tell him not to take pills on the route, he does it. That is one of the primary causes of the patients that we see, is taking medication on the route for pain. It's impossible to run 87 kilometers in 12 hours without getting some aches and pains, sore feet, sore ankles, sore knees, sore hips. The painkillers are only a temporary relief, and in the presence of certainly of dehydration, if the painkillers are taken in the second 2/3 of or last third of the race, they're not absorbed properly. They sit in the stomach. They cause stomach irritation, which exaggerates any other problems there, and they start vomiting, which aggravates their situation, and it affects kidney function as well. And a message that if you can pass anything on to runners, it's please be careful, do not take excessive medication. As I said, I know they're going to have it, and they will take it. 2 Panado paracetamol along the route is not going to have any harmful effects at all, but 22 will. Even 12 will. As part of the entry process, it's now an actual requirement of the entry process. Runners have to complete a health questionnaire. It's a simple form, yes or no answers. If you answer yes, it takes you on to slightly more detailed questions, again yes or no answers. The aim of this is It covers patients' medical history, family history, etc., to pick up potential problems which may cause serious medical problems during the race. If their answers do raise the possibility that there may be something wrong, they are flagged. Those runners get an email or an SMS advising them that there is something that may not be correct. There may be a potential for a serious medical problem on the route, and they are advised to see a medical professional to get checked out, depending on what the system in the body is. This is part of a study which is being done, of which preliminary results from last year and the 2019 race, when it was a voluntary component of the entry, not compulsory. Preliminary results have already been published in the Swedish Journal of Sports Medicine, indicating that it is likely, obviously more studies, a greater volume of runners are required for this, but it does appear that it has had an effect on reducing the number of serious medical events in ultra-distance running. Two Oceans have been doing it for a few years now as well. So it's a positive step, but it is helpful to runners to prevent them running into problems, and it also is helpful to us to see how we can alter our medical care that we provide on the route. Another innovation that we had last year was putting weather stations along the route. There are 6 of them which are situated at each of the cut-off points along the route, and at some of the, I didn't mention it earlier, we have 8 first aid stations with physio stations at various points along the route as well. The idea of these is to be able to monitor not just the temperature and humidity, but the air quality as well, actually along the route. This is what the runners have to run through. And an interesting result from last year is that there was some areas of serious pollution. The person running this research said it was akin to living in close proximity to a coal-fired power station. And this was because of the briar fires along the route from the spectators. So I've said, well, there's no chance of us stopping the spectators brying. We're just going to have to hope the wind blows in the right direction so it blows the smoke away. I think that covers about everything as to what is available. Just to reiterate what the chairman and the race director have said, we're medical facility is all part of the 6,000 odd volunteers. All these doctors and nursing staff, etc., all they get is a big thank you from us and from the runners, well fed, a beer afterwards or 2, and a shirt. And they all do it voluntarily every year. So people return year after year to do it. Without that, there would be no medical facility. The cost, if the staff had to be paid, would be phenomenal. The entry fee, total entry fee, would be unlikely to cover the cost of the medical facility, and it's all volunteer and sponsored by Netcare in 911. One final point that I'd like to put out to all the runners and the public along the route. If a runner requires medical attention on the route, the number to call is 082 911. That automatically goes through to the call center, central call place in Joburg. If they just mention Comrades Marathon, it will be immediately rerouted down to our medical operations control at the finish, and they will then direct necessary medical personnel to that person who requires help. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. And I think the good chairman has heeded the doctor's advice. He does not pop any of those painkillers on his runs. And even on Sunday, when he's one of the 17,920 qualified runners and will be taking on his 5th Comrades Marathon. So give it up for the chair. Guys, you've heard from the race director. There was a loaded prezzo of race details. We've got all of those thousands of runners to prep. Well, we've prepped well for them on race day. He's shortened the route to 87.701, nearly doubled the prize money to 4.31 mil. There's just so much going down on Sunday. We can't wait for the race to actually begin. And the Comrades has never been one to shy away from any questions from the media or the public at large. So we are going to open up to the floor and have our panel here to answer your questions, including some of the stuff that has been surfacing in the media over the last week or so. As Rowan did say, 550 million rand of economic impact on KwaZulu-Natal. All of the roads have been tarred and prepped and potholes fixed. I know last year the tally of potholes between Pietermaritzburg and Durban stood at 148. I don't want to know what has been counted this year, but Comrades does mean business. And I think we all know that. So this year, I think with also added runners, I think nearly 2,000 more than last year qualified to run, we're going to have a greater economic impact on KwaZulu-Natal, and we welcome it. 2,500 entrants from 84 nations, and that's just the ones out of South Africa. So we're really welcoming them, like the chairman said, giving them a true KwaZulu-Natal welcome, and we are ready for race day. And we're also ready for all of your questions now. Maranaka.
Two-part question for Rowan. Rowan, just picking up from your speech. One, can we touch a little bit? Can you touch a little bit on the challenges of the last 3 years? Obviously there's been a significant jump in the prize money, but we know from post-pandemic, having not been able to stage this race, in its traditional form over the last few years, came back last year. But can you kind of summarize what the challenges has been over the last 3 years post-pandemic? And then you also mentioned that in terms of those who were bussed earlier in the week for supplying, false information, you mentioned that there'll be more. Does that mean that there's an ongoing investigation? Does it also mean that potentially there may be runners who line up who have supplied false information, but they just haven't been busted?
Thank you. Just in terms of some of the challenges that we had along the way, is that it doesn't matter how...
And the roving?
There's been a number of challenges, and I think the important thing is that what we really need to look at is how we've been able to recover the race post-COVID-19 as well. So some of the challenges there in terms of the health protocols that we had to put in place over the COVID period, so that's led to quite a dramatic increase in terms of costs from PPEs and that sort of thing. Fortunately, that has reduced quite a bit from that point of view. That it's not as strict as what we've had now. It's also been a question of also really trying to convince some of the runners as well that it's safe and secure to run the race again, be it from a health point of view. We are aware, and as we all know, we had 2 deaths in the race last year, and funny enough, the Dr. Jeremy and myself actually spoke about that even before the race last year, that the chances were going to be very high that something like that would happen, and it did. So those are some of the challenges that we've had to overcome, in terms of coming out of the COVID area. Operationally, there's plenty of challenges. I've touched on some of them as well. I don't think we need to really go into all of them from that point of view. But I think just moving on to, in terms of the disqualification of the athletes, as I mentioned, it's a project that we started, and we're going to keep going on with that project from that point of view. as well. And then, yes, there's going to be more that are going to come to the fore. So, Myron, if you're asking about some people that do start and run the race on Sunday that have cheated, there's always the option that, and there is the notion that you can still run under protest, and then we can take the action against that offending athlete after the race, which then would retrospectively include disqualification. And if they don't hand back their medal, their result will be declared null and void. If they don't hand back their medal or badge, well, then we'll ban them out of the race indefinitely until such time that they do hand their medal and badge back to us. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Charles Bowler from SABC. I love running and advocate for runners, and just want to shoot this one to you, right? Are we at some stage going to see the prize money go to $1 million? Because well done on adjusting the prize money and all that, but this is what it was before COVID. So technically the prize money is still on the same level. Are we at some stage going to see it going to $1 million, excluding this record? And Doc, simple advice to the runners, especially the amateur runners and also the elite runners, because of the bonus of the reward of 500,000. So many runners are going to prioritize breaking the record instead of focusing on winning the race. So we could see some injuries and all of these things coming. Just a little bit of advice. Thank you.
Just push it.
Yeah, the elite runners, we seldom see any of them, even though they're so well trained these days that they're unlikely to, if they run into a problem, they slow down and they still get a gold medal, or maybe unfortunately a silver medal, but they've dropped to well within their capabilities. Whereas when they're pushing for a win, they are at the limits of their capabilities. For the average runner, the masses, the majority who finish in the last 2 hours, my advice to them is always, if you've been sick in the 2 weeks prior to the race, seriously consider not running. If you've had a cold, a bit of hay fever or something where you just get a bit of nasal congestion and maybe a bit of sneezing, then it's probably all right to run. Granted, these people have spent the last however many months training, putting in vast hours and miles, kilometers, interrupted their family life, etc., and they've paid the entry fee. It's very difficult to convince them not to start. In that case, be aware. Don't push yourself. If things aren't right, you know if your body, even if it's your first Comrades. And in fact, the novices are not the biggest source of our patients. Years 3 to 7 are the people, and I always maintain that those people have run 2 or 3 Comrades and I think they're old hands at it, and they just are probably a bit casual in their training. They think they know how to do it. Once you've done 7, then you've got 2 more to your green number, and they become a bit more serious because they don't want to not finish. But be aware of your body. Your body will tell you if things aren't going well. And it's not just that you get sore knees or sore joints, etc. Have you spoken to people who said they shouldn't have run? They describe how they feel different. They know things aren't right. It's not just the normal stresses and strains. If you have had an illness where you are on treatment, antibiotics, fevers, that sort of thing, you've been confined to the bed, certainly don't even consider running if it's within the last 2 weeks. You're not going to finish, and there's a good chance you're going to end up in an ambulance going to hospital. And those are the main 2 points. I've said medication on the route is always a consideration, but it's the starting with an illness 1998, we had a runner who collapsed and unfortunately died about 3 or 4 kilometers from the, no less, I think 1.5 kilometers from the finish at Scottsville Racecourse. That person had taken their last antibiotic the day before the race and should not have run. The fact that they got that far was quite amazing, I think. Yeah, so that's essentially my advice to runners. Be aware, be careful, don't be stupid.
Joel, just regarding the prize money, would we see R1 million? Comrades has always been the forefront and the lead in terms of prize money in this country. In the races we do, no other races come anywhere near Comrades in terms of offering the prize money that they have. We certainly understand and realise the effort and that it takes to run this event and to run it competitively. So yes, we will always review that every single year when we look at it in terms of our overall budget turnover. We like to stay the market leader in terms of that. 4 years from now is our 100th running of the Comrades Marathon in 2027. So who knows?
Thank you, Rowan. Vusi Kumalo?
Yes, my name is Vusi Kumalo from SABC News. You can see that the Russians are back, moreover. I'd like to know how many more have qualified for this year's race. And we are also noting that this year there's a lot of emphasis on the health of the runners. So why is that? Was it because of the incidents that took place last year?
Thank you for that. Just regarding the participation of the Russians, is that World Athletics put out a communique roughly about a month and a half ago to say that the Russian Federation and athletes from Russia are allowed to participate in athletics again. If it's a World Athletics sanctioned event, there are still specific criteria that are in place that they need to adhere to. Comrades Marathon is not a World Athletics accredited event, and the reason for that is it's not a World Athletics recognized distance in terms of that. So the rules pertaining to Russian participation then do not apply for the Comrades Marathon 1. Just in terms of the number of participants, 78 men from Russia and 38 females from Russia is a total number of Russian participants in the Comrades this year, so 116 in total. Thank you.
The emphasis on health.
Sorry?
Emphasis on health.
On health.
On health, yes. Is it because of the incidents from last year?
Just regarding the incidents or the emphasis on health, I think the race doctors touched on that adequately. And then just from my side as race director as well, just to really emphasize to anybody that what the race doctor has said, if you're not feeling well and you don't feel up to it, don't do it. Comrades will always be there. We've been around for 102 years. I'm sure we're certainly going to be around for another 102 years. Rather not risk your health, come back next year and then take it on then.
Rowan, I just want to know, the 25 that were disqualified, the clubs are complaining that you named them. What was the reason for that?
Very, very good question. And one of the things that Comrades Marathon does, bear in mind that we're collecting personal information of athletes, and in terms of the Poppy Act, of 2013, is that we are not at liberty to be able to disclose that information to third parties. So hence the reason we did not name them by person. One of the things that we did do, made a decision to name the club, and one of the main reasons behind why us naming the clubs is that really to put a message out to the clubs is that they also need to look internally in terms of their membership that they are taking on, and to ensure that they follow the ethos of what the sport is. And if runners are called out for cheating within a club, is to actually take the necessary internal disciplinary steps with those members as well. And that's the reason that we've gone that route.
Someone happy? Guys? No questions? Charles? Charles Benoit, up front?
Just before, with regards to our answer, so we were saying one rotten potato spoils the whole bag. In regards to the clubs and the way you went about the see in the statement. You just need some clarity on that. But the question what I wanted to ask is, can't you introduce a more strict measure to catch these cheats? Because it's an ongoing problem and it's getting big and big. And CMA is going into a world brand as it is. It's one of the best and it's coming back since after COVID.
Would you like to answer?
Look, Rowan is going to answer the first part, the follow-up. One of the difficulties, some of these transgressions, we receive them anonymously through tip-offs. We unfortunately rely on information we receive from runners, one. Number two, unfortunately, events that are used as qualifiers are not organized by Comrades in the first place, and therefore what happens, let's say for example, I'm going to make an example of a runner who uses another runner to qualify on their behalf. It's absolutely beyond our control as Comrades, because unless we get a tip-off, for example, or when we verify information on our database, in certain instances, if an event is timed by finish time, what we call spot splits, it's easy for us, if you submit incorrect information of an event, for us to verify using, because then we can always migrate information from a database, because it's like for like, because it's the same system that we use. But if an event is using another system outside the system that we use, then it becomes problematic for us. So maybe we will have to look at working closely with clubs to do a verification system. Obviously, that's where clubs will come in, because if we send emails to say, maybe confirm that this is a true reflection of what athlete A has achieved in terms of qualifying, and the club confirms as such, it's just one of measures we can put in place. But beyond those measures, one, migrating information from a system that talks to our system to verifying it through clubs, which is a tedious process, and it takes a lot of time in terms of our resources, because as it is, when we're doing this process of verifying information against what runners had submitted, it took 2 days. So you can see that our resources were out of commission for 2 days, which is something that we can't afford, especially a few days before the race. Thank you.
Graham, thank you, Chair.
Just maybe going forward with the verification process, could we not do like we used to do every time in the old days, throw it back to the actual clubs to do the verification of the actual members before they actually do the application? Just one of the suggestions we could maybe take it off your hands to actually do that. Maybe we'll get something in that sort of line.
So just in terms of the verification, is it we have a link that the clubs can link onto to check their club verification and to verify their members. In all probability, it most probably wasn't as freely available as what maybe has been in the past, and certainly we will make that link going forward more freely available, but also to the clubs to be able to verify the members. But it's also incumbent upon the clubs then to make sure that they do that process. We are in an era where there are what's termed a number of virtual clubs as well. So you have also got clubs that get members that join them that they don't even know who those members are. So what we would like to do with this process is we actually want to work hand in hand with the clubs, because ultimately at the end of the day, the backbone of Comrades is the clubs. Without the clubs, we don't have a race, we don't have runners. So collectively, let's work together to root out. It's a small minority of that 17,920 who want to flout the rules. So it's almost a case of the tail wagging the dog here. Let's get rid of the few that really tarnish the sport, and as I mentioned earlier, disrespect the other fellow runners out there. You'll get to know very quickly who they are within your own club system, and collectively we can do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Charles, are we happy?
My statement on the rotten potato.
Charles Beloy has an issue that
in the case of naming the few athletes from the 25 or the 21 running clubs, tarnishes the club, as in, are we now putting all of the rotten potatoes in one basket?
So putting?
All of the rotten potatoes, does it make the whole basket full of rotten potatoes?
No, I don't think so. You know, the reality is that they need to take ownership and responsibility and accountability for their members as well at the same time. So it's not a question of making the whole bad or the whole basket bad from that point of view. I think the key message that we're really trying to get across is we're not trying to call out the clubs in a poor manner or fashion at all. Is that what we're really wanting to do is that we're really wanting the clubs to be able to take action against those members. So during this process, as the chairman mentioned, it took us a full 2 days just to work through 25 athletes that were disqualified. And there's a process involved in, and that process includes actually contacting the athlete to get their side of the story so that it's a legitimate process. And secondly, we also advise the club membership of that defending athlete. Some of the club membership just fob us off, others actually take action, hence the reason of us advising them.
Thank you, Raz. Guys, any more questions? Thank you very much. Thanks to our panel. You've been awesome. Guys, we are going to meet here at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning for the Elite Athletes Media Briefing. Not this specific room, because we're going to need a much bigger venue, as you guys know. Expecting about 160 top contenders, running club managers, as well as our media. So you're more than welcome to attend tomorrow morning. We've got lots of yummy refreshments out there for you all, so please partake and enjoy. And see you back at the expo.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. So,